whereas during this week, government finance professionals throughout the state of Florida will be acknowledged for their hard work, dedication, leadership, and now, therefore, I, Susie Johnston, as mayor, and on behalf of our commissioners, do hereby proclaim March 15th through 19th, 2021, as Government Finance Professionals Week in the city of Flagler Beach, and extend our appreciation to all government finance professionals throughout the state for their hard work, dedication, and leadership. And witness whereof I hereon set my hand and cause the official seal of the city of Flagler Beach to be fixed. Oop, don't know if I was supposed to read that part. Here you are.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to take a moment to introduce your finance department. You guys all have a wonderful staff that has worked here for many, many years. This is Maria De Silva. She's your utility billing manager. Brenda Ludecker, our payroll / bookkeeper. Jenna Gottlieb is our new cashier. She just started this past month. And Holly Mahoney does all the accounts payable. And my name is Kathleen Doyle. I'm your finance director. Thank you very much.
All right, we have one more. It's for Equal Pay Day. Whereas 58 years after the passage of Equal Pay Act of 1963, women, especially minority women, continue to suffer the consequences of unequal pay. And whereas, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, women working full-time for all of 2020 typically earned 82% of what men earned, indicating little change or progress in equal pay equity. And whereas, according to the Graduating to a Pay Gap, a 2012 research report by the American Association of Women, the gender pay gap is evident 1 year after college graduation, even after controlling for factors known to affect earnings such as occupation, hours worked, and college major. And whereas in 2009, the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act was signed into law, which gives back to employees their day in court to change a pay gap. And now we must pass the Paycheck Fairness Act of 2021, which would amend the Equal Pay Act by closing loopholes and improving the law's effectiveness. And whereas, according to one estimate, college-educated women working full-time earn more than $500,000 less than their male peers do over the course of a lifetime. And whereas nearly 5 in 10 mothers are primarily breadwinners in their households, and nearly 2/3 are primarily or significant earners, making equity critical to families' economic security. And whereas a lifetime of lower pay means women have less income to save for retirement and less income counted in a Social Security or pension benefit formula. And whereas Florida's 2020 gender pay ratio was 83% and its national rank is 7th. And whereas fair pay equity policies can be implemented simply and without undue cost or hardship in both the public and private sectors. And whereas fair pay strengthens the security of families today and eases future retirement costs while enhancing the American economy. And whereas Wednesday, March 24th, symbolizes the time in 2021 when the wages paid to American women catch up to the wages paid to men in 2020. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Susie Johnston, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, March 24th, 2021, Equal Pay Day.
Thank you, Mayor. Next item on the agenda is deletions and changes to the agenda. And
Thank you.
My understanding is item 9 and item 13 have been removed. Is that correct, Penny?
Yes, sir. We'll probably likely bring them back at the next meeting. There was some questions that came up regarding the canal between the properties.
Okay. And any other additional comments or changes from commissioners? All right. We don't need any further action on that, right? All right. And our next item is update regarding the Dunes Restoration Project. Mr. Al Hadid.
Hello, thank you very much. A very short report. We're still at 4 owners remaining outstanding. And that's a very significant as far as the South 2700 block, because 3 of those 4 are in the South 2700 block. So we're going to continue to work on those. The other item I wanted to bring your attention to is that we have finalized our negotiations with FDOT, not on your money, but on our money to do the non-federal portion of the project. That is the project that's going to commence at South 28th and actually just immediately south of South 28th and continue to the Volusia County line, and then to begin at South 6 and continue northward as far as the funds will allow us to get, depending upon how much dune restoration we'll need to do. Hopefully, we'll be able to get to the point of the seawall to join it. That is our objective. So we're going to be approving that. That's not on for this coming agenda of the County Commission, which is Monday, but it'll be on for the meeting following. So you can take a look at that. We're also going to commence the discussions with FDOT concerning your money, the maintenance funding, and that will start shortly. Unless there are any questions, that's all I've got.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Hadid, in regard to the 4 holdouts, do you have a timeline when you may start proceeding with eminent domain, or continue to try to negotiate with them?
Well, right now, we are beginning the proceedings relative to one of the properties that is in the South 2700. We're going to continue to try to work with them to see if we can avoid
Rick?
Yeah, you said there's three in 2700 block.
Yes.
And then, but we had the one person with two properties.
that's
further
in north. Yeah, that's north of the
That's
2700.
what, 24th and 25th?
Correct.
24
Good
and
memory.
2500, so there's still 2 there.
Yeah, two parcels, one owner.
Right.
One owner that owns
So you're
both.
talking 4 owners, but
Yes.
5 parcels?
Yes,
Okay.
right, correct. But really, you kind of have to look at them by owner.
I understand.
It's not a split the baby situation. Solomon, I was referring to Solomon's.
Now, there are areas on the north end of town that are more vulnerable to storms than others. So, has that been looked at as to whether you might want to start the north end and work your way south, or I don't, that's the weakest link.
Well, the contractor is, the Army Corps is going to go up to and including South 6. So naturally, we'll want to continue that dune restoration northward from that point as far as we can get. And obviously also be wise to go ahead and do the southern leg that I described, south of 28th. Remember, on the south of 28th, we've gotten DEP to agree to pay for the restoration that is for the Gamble Rogers park frontage, the ocean frontage there. So that's just how we've got it set up. Now, are we going to be contemplating other areas? Yes, we are. I mean, our long-range goal is to redo the entire beach line, all 18 miles of Flagler Beach. One of the things that we are going to start doing, and I think that might be on the agenda Monday, is we're going to replicate what you did with your beach management plan. So we're going to be doing a beach management plan that'll take the entirety of the beachfront, and we'll be figuring out how we're going to be doing that. You know, a lot of it is money. But now, one of the things we solve, and I know this wasn't part of your question, but I like to emphasize it, particularly for the information of residents. One of the great advantages of being able to commence the Army Corps project is it gives us the access to the offshore sand borrow site, which is pretty much for us. Others can't really get to it. It's not as proximate to their beaches and
Right.
their inlets and so forth. So this is a borrow site that's going to serve our entire beach, including the areas that we may not be able to get to, but that remain vulnerable. And that's our only expense is we've got to get, the sand is free. We just have to get it to shore and then move it.
Move it around.
Yep, and move it around, put it in place.
Just during your discussions, I don't know if they're totally done, but I guess you said they are, right? But
Well, on this
you know-
particular grant, you know, you go by grant agreement.
Okay,
Is that what
it's a
you're
grant.
referring to? Yes.
Okay. All right, just, I just remember when they proposed putting that buried seawall up the north end, that it would.
Yes.
We were promised that it would remain buried. And I would think it would be in the best interest of FDOT to piggyback on the same project to rebury that wall.
Do understand that these discussions are ongoing. They are not
Okay.
static. This is not a static. I know it kind of sounds like, okay, well, you're going to do this chunk and then you're going to do this chunk after XYZ time. It is a dynamic project where we are thinking about the entirety of the beach. I mean, that's obviously, that's critical
And
to Flagler County's future, city of Flagler Beach and the county's future.
And I would assume that maybe some of that money that we've talked about trying to have in reserves to take care of, you know, issues along the beach.
I mean, as in maintenance,
Right. and
post-renourishment.
Maybe that could be used as keeping that seawall buried as well.
You know, again, that's going to be something ultimately, you know, the way that's working out is it's going to be money, funds that the FDOT is going to put in its program, its annual, what is it, 5-year, annual. It's 5-year program as far as maintaining the renourished beach. And how you know, that's going to be up to you, how you finally conclude those negotiations as to how you want that agreement. Now, I will tell you this. Okay, everybody knows that FDOT traditionally does road projects. So their projects are right-of-way projects. The templates they use for their agreements, for their easements, for all that stuff is keyed to road projects. We are not doing road project, right? I mean, it protects the road, but it's basically something they've never done before.
Right.
That's why these agreements take a long time, because we have to detangle the templates so that they serve the project. It's why they take a long time.
Okay.
Your agreement's going to take
Have
some
to
time
kind of be
too.
rewritten.
Yeah.
Again.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Good. Okay, Commissioner Mealy?
No, I don't have anything.
Commissioner Phillips? Nothing? The only question I had is, for your upcoming FDOT meeting, is there anything you need from us, or would you like a representative from our city there at these upcoming FDOT meetings?
Well, the answer is no, we don't need to be there.
addressed this commission in quite some time. So pretty much the report reads, there's nothing much happening so far as Flagler Beach goes. Currently, there may be 2 items that have been on the construction list for years now. But both of those items are so far down the list that they're just not going to occur. One of them, our former city manager was interested in initially, but he got overwhelmed by all the other stuff. The other thing that I thought was important to let you know is that this year the call for projects has already closed, so there's no reason for any rush or anything else. But in regards to that, we have also been informed that, again, because of the pandemic, because of the dearth of travel and tourists, that it is expected that this year the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee is going to see quite a reduction in the amount of funds that they have available for projects. Since that the call for projects is closed, I'm thinking that we have an entire year if there are projects that any of the commissioners seem to think might be worthwhile. Particularly what I'm thinking of is if there are areas in the city where our sidewalks are getting to the point where they could become a hazard, that would be a good project to look at and think about and be able to get some funding for. The other thing that I just heard was that a lot of the projects that were kind of termed generally as beautification projects that were acceptable to this committee may not be able to get the kind of funding that they had in the past. But I don't believe that this committee has been approached with something that might be able to aid with something that's important to the city, such as making sure that that seawall stays buried. I was just intrigued by the thought. It's something for you to think about. And if any of the commissioners have any questions or anything about what we are doing or what is possible, please feel free to contact me. I'll be glad to respond to that. Thank you.
And Paul, since this is a committee update for commission, if you have anything else, you can cover it. You don't have to stop.
Actually, I just wanted to make that short report down there and say that there are possibilities that are out there, and we do have sufficient time, and I am willing to take and work with any or the commission as a whole in trying to get a project forwarded to the committee that they could take a look at next year.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Ike?
Yeah, I do.
You can next. Go ahead.
Okay. You said we had a couple of projects that were way down the list. Do you remember what they were? I know I should know, but
yeah,
it's been a long time.
I believe that the sidewalk project over on Lambert Avenue is still one of them. I think that's still on the list because they just don't take things off of the list. They just have a tendency to fall further down. And the other was something that Larry was initially interested in. It was a combined bicycle, maybe other kinds of alternative transportation that he was thinking about. But the
multimodal?
The multimodal, yes, that's exactly right.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Commissioner Mealy, any other questions? Commissioner Bellimer?
Yeah, I'll be talking with the commission over the next period of time, and I think there's a couple of pieces of sidewalk we need to see about, mainly down by the water tower where you have to walk around that circle.
Oh, yeah.
People were driving around there blind, and people were down there walking their dogs and going to the beach every day, and I'm surprised nobody's gotten hurt there. And the other piece of sidewalk that we've been talking about for years is on South Flagler Avenue in front of the police and fire station all the way down to Wickline. So between you and I and our positions on the board, the TPO, we'll get something in this coming year.
Commissioner Bryan? Commissioner Phillips? Mayor Johnson? All right, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul.
Any other members of the public would like to speak to items not related to the agenda? Hello, 3 minutes, and your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Reynolds, and I live at 322 North 11th Street, Flagler Beach. So my dad is the one who came up with this idea, but I've been working with him on it to start a cleanest crossover competition, because our goal is mainly we have annual beach cleanups like every month, and our goal is to just keep the beaches clean, so we don't have to constantly pick up after them and just keep them clean all around. So we have these signs that we would hand out to each crossover would try to be the cleanest for that month. And at the end of the year, like, each one would have, I don't know, not everyone would get one, but this would say the month they won and the year they won, and they could go on forever if you wanted to. And then we have one big sign, and that sign would move each month to whatever crossover was the cleanest for that month, so everyone knows which street did the best that month. And at the end of the year, the big sign would go to whatever business was the cleanest, just kept their outside area clean for the whole year, and that would be rated every month as well, like with the crossovers, just so that we can keep our beaches clean and keep our community clean. So.
All right. Commissioners, any questions or thoughts on that?
I'd like to comment.
Sir?
Excuse me. I've been talking to Mr. Reynolds, Daryl, and that's Daryl in the back, and that's his daughter there. So, and they come out on every beach cleanup, and the family is out picking up trash and stuff almost on a daily basis. And I think the idea that they have is really excellent, because I think we need to get, and this is something I've discussed with them, we need to get, the pride in the community and get people involved and let people recognize that, we're looking for clean beaches and cleanliness and everyone participating. And I think that provides some incentive and almost some kind of a competition where individuals all the way down each one of the streets really will see that, we're taking pride in it, and the great thing about this, we got some youth involved. We got the youth involved, which is contagious within the community because they seem to set examples for the adults. So I think it's an excellent idea. And, I would encourage the board members to support them as much as they can. And if you want someone to volunteer to continue working with them on a basis as far as reporting back to the board, I'd be happy to do that.
And I think one of the questions that will come up is there one of us or the mayor who would take point on that initiative if we have, if that's something we want to take up. Any other questions, Jane?
Well, I was going to comment, I don't want to take away from Ken, but I thought with the mayor saying she was going to continue beach cleanups.
That's fine.
I'm happy to take this on.
Well, we can list, since a lot of Commissioner Bryant's meetings are not happening, we can put them on as an alternate.
Thanks, sir.
Or it could be split, since you're talking about businesses as well.
Yeah.
Maybe the mayor could work with the beach part and.
That's fine. I just want to get them involved. I mean, they've been putting so much effort in this and just focusing on it, and I think it's a great idea. And the more community involvement we get, the better. So, I mean, I don't have to be on it, but I don't mind. I mean, I'll help.
You're welcome to join.
Okay, Commissioner Phillips.
I think this is a fantastic idea. Can you please turn around your sign again so we can take a better look at it? It's beautiful. Will you be supplying the signs or creating the signs? And will they be different for each crossover, or will they all be the same?
Well, this is what this big sign looks like as well, so I think we would keep them all the same, just as like our logo for that cleanest crossover. And me and my dad made this one together and the big one.
Okay.
And I'm assuming he can
Really?
make more of them.
Okay, thank you. Kudos to both of you. This is a terrific idea.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Commissioner Bellimer?
Yeah, this isn't any sort of criticism whatsoever. I'm just curious, For the most part, people in town call them walkovers. So it may be a little confusing by using the terminology
Yeah.
crossover. So like I said, it's not criticism, but it may lead to some confusion as to exactly what you're trying to do. If you're calling them crossovers, it may be a lot of confusion amongst people that call them walkovers. So I don't know. I don't mean to. I know you're working hard on this, and your heart's in it, and it's a great idea. I agree 100%. But just something moving forward you might want to think about. I think it'll spread a little quicker if you call it a walkover as opposed to a crossover.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, and we could have our two point people, Commissioner Bryan and Mayor Johnston, work a lot of the nuts and bolts out of that. And Mayor Johnston, any thoughts?
I think it's great. I think we should actually roll it out sooner than later. Earth Day is coming up. We discussed this at the beach cleanup. We could put a little memo in the utility bill, go ahead and launch it Earth Day weekend, and start them up, get some plaques made.
And the only other comment that I had is, and this is to Mayor Johnston, Commissioner Bryan, and Rebecca, is longevity. There's a lot of very good ideas that get started, and then they tend to fizzle. And so, Rebecca, something for you to consider is who will carry that torch and keep it going. And it's fine if it's you, but you want to also work into your plan, with our representatives, the longevity of the project, because the only way we're going to keep this beach clean is if we stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'll be something that we'll need to figure out. Commissioner Bryan.
Yeah, each one of you commissioners have an item on your desk, and I was going to use that during commissioner comments. But it's an organization out of Jacksonville called Beaches Go Green, and I'll talk about it a little bit more. But this is an organization that was formed in Jacksonville, and I think it could tie in to a great extent to what we're trying to do here. And it focuses on keeping the beaches clean, and it started in Jacksonville down through St. Augustine Beach. And I was actually engaging and talking to a commissioner in St. Augustine Beach yesterday, and I'll share this information with you later in regard to cigarette butts and receptacles and all. So I think this will dovetail with what you're trying to do, and I think it would be great if we could get this all kicked off before Earth Day, or right on Earth Day even. So
Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts.
Any other comments?
Great.
All right,
Thank you for
Rebecca.
wanting to do stuff like that.
All right, any other comments from the public on items not on the agenda? Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
Yep, it's Daryl Reynolds, 322 North 11th Street. I am her father, obviously, and very proud of her. But my idea was to get the kids involved. So you're saying to keep it going. I mean, we have lifeguards out here, and one of her friends that helped paint that was a lifeguard. So I think getting the high school involved, middle school involved, that's what's going to keep it going. I mean, the young people are going to be the ones that push us to do better. So I think it can be something that has some longevity to it as long as we keep the young people involved. And like I said, the lifeguards, and as far as, I mean, that scrap wood I picked up off the street, you just sand it down. And as far as a walkover or a crossover, all it takes is a little sandpaper and some paint. We can change whatever it is. But I do think like I said, my goal is not to pick up trash on the beach. I mean, that's the overall goal. I mean, we need to let people know cigarette butts are trash. I mean, and that's mostly what we spend our time picking up on the last cleanup. So I just think the education piece of this and getting it out there is what's going to make it get some legs to it and take off. So that's essentially all I have to say. And I think, like I said, we've got a wonderful community here. It's great to see these people get out. I mean, it was raining last week when we got out and picked up, and we had a very good turnout, I thought. So. Thank
you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Carol?
And another good item to consider for our folks is working with our media sources on that, and that could be a nice rollout. And we have the news channel right here, so that'd be great. You got first in line. Any other comments from members of the public for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment, move on to general business. Item 7 will be consider application for appointment to the alternate position on Citizens Advisory Council River TPO. And Penny, you have that one.
So, is Mr. Fenlon here? Wait a minute. So, we received one application for the alternate position. And it was from Mr. Finley, and he's here to respond to any questions you may have of him.
Okay, Mr. Finley, if you could come up and if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and if you can, just a little synopsis of why would you like to be on this board?
Well, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the opportunity. Thanks to all the commissioners and Madam Mayor. So I am interested in serving and grateful for your consideration. I do think we have a lot of opportunities here. Mr. Reich was talking about them a few moments ago. We're a special place. I mean, this is a walkable, mixed-use, traditionally scaled town, and that's really special. It also offers a particular advantage when you're thinking about transportation investments, because if you get the land use right, the transportation investments can be very smart, very targeted, and I think go a long way. So that's a really good thing. I do have the time, I do have the interest, I've got some professional background that hopefully will lend itself to, a bit of a head start on this, although I haven't done exactly this type of work. I've been kind of around in this world of planning and transportation investments. So hopefully that will lend a hand. The other thing I just would want to emphasize is that I think Flagler Beach has the opportunity to be a real role model for this area and for this planning area that's covered by the TPO. So here's the very sobering part of that, is that the annual Dangerous by Design report came out this week, and perhaps some of you saw that. The media highlights it quite a bit. It's very important, and it's something that is very important to me. And I know, having heard you speak and our neighbors talk about street safety, because that's what this is about, I think it's important to this community. And the sad fact is that if you look nationally, this broader area is represented among the worst. So 6 of the most dangerous jurisdictions in this country in terms of the risk of death and injury to people walking and biking are in Florida. And Orlando this year was in the worst position, the number 1 in terms of risk to death to people who are walking or biking. Daytona area was number 5, and Jacksonville was represented on this sad list as well. And so I think we here, being in this region, and of course we're not perfect. We are not highlighted in this report because we do much better in that regard in terms of street safety, thankfully. But we're not perfect, and I think we have a lot of improvements that could be done. And I think if we're able to do that, we really have the potential to kind of show folks, to say, look, this is how you can do it. You can be a place where no matter what you're doing, if you're driving, if you're walking, if you're biking, if you're taking a scooter, you can get anywhere and you can get there safely. So that's what I'd love to see us, continue to work on, and hopefully the TPO investments can follow that, and hopefully that would be responsive to what your interest would be and what our neighbors interested. So anyway, count me in if you'll have me. I'm not underestimating that it takes some work. You got to show up. You got to meet people. You got to do our part. But hopefully, again, we're a special place, and hopefully we can have a voice in this process in a way that serves us, but also, like I said, maybe, we can even be more of an example for the broader region.
All right, thank you, Mr.
All
Finley. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Finley?
I just have a comment that I told him this outside. I was very impressed with the resume that he submitted, and I would certainly be happy if he were to serve in this position.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm wrapping up a long career, so it's nice to kind of say, okay, I'll package that up and hopefully do it in a way that, can serve, my neighbors and the region.
That's great
and
that you
hopefully
want to
apply a
do
little
that.
bit of that locally. But, like I said, it's self-interest too. I mean, we all live here and want to be able to have safe and accessible streets, so I appreciate
Doesn't
that.
sound like self-interest to me at all.
Yeah.
Sounds like you like this town as like all of us do. And Penny, did we ever get a chance to interview the person that's actually the primary?
Mary, you did. It was quite a while ago, though, I believe. It was right before she was appointed on there. And I did speak with her, and she did state that she will put her best effort forth to attend these meetings going forward.
Okay.
And there's no reason that the alternate couldn't, they can attend at the same time. It's just they can't vote if the primary is there.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And,
That was going to be my question.
myself as person on the, as a commissioner on the TPO board, I started out as as Citizens Advisory Council when I was at, still sitting out there. And it takes a little while to get up to speed, but it's really rewarding to go through the process and represent your hometown.
Mm-hmm.
So I like your enthusiasm, and I'm certainly happy to have you as an alternate, but stand by.
Yeah.
I'd like to say.
Commissioner Bryant?
No, the question was answered. Penny answered it. I wanted to make sure that he could also attend along with the primary. So that's great.
All right. Benny, this is public comment, right? Or we need to open it up, right? Okay. No other comments? Mr. Finley, you can take a seat for a minute, and I'll open this up to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back up here for a motion.
I'll make
The
a
motion, we appoint Mr. Finley to the alternate position on this
Second.
Citizens Advisory
I
Council.
did not. I'm sorry.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Heard none. Motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Finley.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Item 8, consider a request to support / endorse local tobacco retail licensing. Do we have Terry here? All right, come on up, Terry.
I have to move this down. I'm Terry Williams. I'm the Tobacco Program Manager in Flagler County since '05 when I moved here. And to you, and that's not why we're here. But we are here to ask you to support a local tobacco retail license. And you want to speak to that? Okay. He's got a couple of papers that explains it a little better. And what we want is, I don't know if you all are aware of all the vape shops that are opening across our county, everywhere. And I don't know if you're aware that they do not need any license to open anywhere. And ever since the vape shop opened across from the high school, wow, the school board, me, we're getting so many calls. The superintendent of schools has asked me, wow, what can we do about this? And the thing is, we're not worried about the retailers that are in business and solid business, but it's these little shops that are popping over everywhere, and they're not regulated. We have no license for them. They don't pay anything to open. They could open out of the trunk of their cars. And we really feel like this is an issue for our students. And can you tell them how many students you had cited for vaping?
In addition to being involved in the SWAT clubs, I also teach the tobacco citation class. So students that on any of our campuses that get caught with tobacco products or vape products, they have to come to a monthly class where we educate them on the dangers of all the different devices. We had 29 kids signed up, 21 attended, and it's all for vaping. So it's no longer traditional tobacco products that they're purchasing, and none of them were of age.
Yeah. What was one of the most alarming things that just happened this week was we talked to a 12-year-old girl at Buddy Taylor, and I said, or we were asked, where do you get this product? And they said, oh, the smoke shop in Bunnell, he sells it to all us kids. And I'm like, wow, okay. I don't think I talked to Matt about that, but I did to Chief Foster. I had a meeting with him yesterday. I said, wow, nobody's regulating these shops. Nobody's checking them to see if children are in them. They have unbelievable products in there. It would make you sick. We just surveyed, and I did survey a store here in Flagler. We surveyed 55 stores. The ones, I'm not so worried about here because we kind of closed some of the hookah shops. I was involved in helping close that hookah shop in that center down there years ago. And, but we're concerned about these children in the rural areas. Around in Bunnell, they're getting all these products, and a 16-year-old just had a double lung transplant because he was vaping. And he's going to go national. You're going to see this story out there. So these children are destroying their lungs, and they're doing it very quickly. He's only 16. He's going to have, well, I think he's already had the double lung transplant. So, you know, we care, and I know you care about the youth and young people, and none of you want 12-year-olds, 11. They start 11 to 13. That's a very common age where we're seeing them start. And their little lungs are not developed so great that it attacks them very, very quickly and damages them. And the damage is irreversible. They would have to have lung transplants. So it's not a reversible disease. And we're going to see, it's amazing. I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see so much health care because of these products. Is there anything you wanted to say about your school and what you're seeing?
Yes, so I had a meeting with Superintendent Middlestat with teenagers from all over Flagler County, from Flagler, Palm Coast, and Matanzas, and it was so alarming, the amount of teenagers that came to support this. There's a smoke shop that's opening up right across from our school, and our youth know that this isn't good. We see it in our schools, and it's so terrible, and we want to urge this matter. It's our lungs, it's our health. I've seen so many people ruin their lives because of this. And when the youth are so passionate about this, it's something to consider.
We're just seeing more and more damage every day. And The thing is, a tobacco retail license, if they did do it with the county, it would allow us to have a license fee. It's not that great a fee. It would pay for itself. It would close the loophole on the vape shops. It would let us know where they are, what they're selling. I mean, some of this stuff they're selling in these vape shops or smoke shops, if you haven't been in them, it's sickening, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no longer, like I said, it's no longer traditional tobacco products. And what the license does, like Terry said, it can be effective. It's self-funding. It's the small fee that businesses are charged. So this is not anti-business. Open up the shop if you want to, but let's go about this the right way. Pay a small fee. That money is then used to help police those businesses. You can control the density of the shops. You can control the location of the shops. I mean, like you said, it can be as strong or as weak as you want to, this tobacco retail license.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I talked to the sheriffs yesterday, and they contacted ATF, and there's no ATF agent anywhere near our areas, not even in Orlando. So we don't have anybody monitoring or doing spot checks anywhere near us. And we're very concerned about that. So we had talked to them about using their student resource officers in the summers and just let them do the spot checks. They're in the summer, they're in the schools during the year, so in the summer they look for things to do. So I think it would be very good for our kids. And that's what I've always been about 21 years doing this job, is protecting our youth. And every time we feel like we're getting progress, it seems like they come out with something else that the kids are using, like these puff bars. And you probably don't even know what some of these products are, but we do. And they're flavored, and so it masks all the nicotine. So they taste good, and that's how they get addicted. So and nicotine is one of the most addictive drugs in the world. So this is, if we can keep this from happening to some of our youth, I think it would be worthwhile to try to do. Any questions?
Thank you. We'll just run down the line here. May we get any questions for them? Okay, Commissioner Bryan?
I feel your pain. So what do you want us to do? Because you talked to the sheriff. Have you talked to the legislators? I mean, and I'll defer to Drew over here, because this seems like there's something that the legislators should be.
Well, I think that's actually what you're asking for, is you're asking for the commission to give a letter of support.
Okay.
So for those conversations.
Okay, that's what you want.
Yeah, we've met with 2 commissioners that have already backed us.
Okay.
And we have 1 more that is supporting us. So once we want to get at least 10 letters of support, so that just like, do you remember when we did the flavor resolution in Flagler County? So we started with the city, but now we got a resolution. We got a resolution for you about selling flavored products. And then we went to Palm Coast, we got theirs. We took all those resolutions to the county, and then they did it.
Okay.
So we're just trying to get the support. We don't want to go in there and not get it. It would be, I've spent 6 years on just this TRL right now. So just trying to get it done.
Commissioner Bellhumor?
I think you're barking up the right tree for sure. Kids think they're indestructible.
Oh, yeah.
And they're starting at 11 years old.
Oh.
Yeah. They just don't know better.
Yeah.
And anybody selling it to children should be stopped in whatever way we can do it. So
I mean, it's different for an adult to make that choice, but 11-year-old, do you really think they're signing up for a life sentence to be on nicotine?
They don't know what life is yet.
I know.
They don't know how life progresses.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, they think they're indestructible, like I did when I was a kid.
Sure. Yeah.
Lucky to be here.
Yeah.
For all the stupid things I did when I was a kid. But,
me too.
but I think it's a great initiative.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mealy?
Yeah, I too think it's a great initiative. So basically, you're asking us to write a letter of support, or an actual resolution, or?
No, just a letter of support.
Okay.
I did provide a letter.
Right, so if we did something like this?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Phillips.
I also endorse what you're doing. I think it's terrific. Can you talk a little bit more about these smoke shops? Are they not regulated by the
No.
state?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
They're not regulated by anybody.
By anybody? That's, to me, quite shocking.
They don't need a license to open, just like a liquor license. You don't have a license to open a liquor store. But this tobacco, they don't need anything for these vape shops.
Wow.
Well, they probably need a business license. They just
Yeah.
don't
Right.
need
They don't
a
have-
special.
Yeah, but they are not regulated by
Okay,
anything.
thank you. Yeah, I
Yes,
support
ma'am.
what you're doing. It's terrific.
Thank you.
Drew, to your knowledge, is there anything at the state level that?
I'm not aware of anything, but I haven't gone looking either for that.
The state has been little by little taking away our ability to do almost anything.
I know.
So I want to make sure that it's not something at the state level that prevents
Well,
this.
I work for the Department of Health. I'm a program manager. We have one of me in every county. And this is a state initiative that Alachua County already passed their TRL. Marion County passed theirs, and St. John's is getting ready to pass theirs. So this is something the Department of Health, we're all working on in our state.
Okay, great.
So you hopefully will get this going. We've been kind of stagnant for a little while, I guess because of COVID and everything. So we're just gaining traction. And actually, the smoke shop opening across from the school has given us a ton of traction. So, it's kind of a blessing in disguise, and I don't think it's opened yet. I haven't seen any lights on yet. So, that's brought it to a lot of people's attention now. They just don't like it. Well, thank you.
All right, hold on.
Oh,
Commissioner Phillips, you're done, right? You're good? Okay. All right. And Terry, I've worked with you for a long time, and you were just in my store the other day.
Yes.
But I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. So I am a tobacco retailer.
I know.
And so I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this. I need to ask you some questions here. So
Okay.
the first thing is, for me, I have a tobacco license, and I get inspected from both the FDA and the ATF, both. So you're saying that these shops are falling under something where they don't have a tobacco license?
Right. They don't have any tobacco license. And actually, it would protect you because, see, you're a retailer who's following the law. You're not selling to anyone under 21. You don't have, you're doing it right. And actually, it'll protect you because these other stores, they're getting business. They are getting a lot of business. And, it's hurting, it is hurting other retailers. So we're not after you guys that are doing it right. You have signage up in your store. You don't sell it under 21. You are being monitored. You are paying a fee. But these guys don't. They don't have any sign. I mean, you've got 11 and 12-year-olds walking in your vape shops, buying products. No, that's what this would help do.
Okay. And so this particular, and the way I look at this is already something that is in place for me because I'm doing it. So would this license not apply to people that already have ATF licenses? It applies to the
Well, the
non-licensed?
license that you have is a $50 license to sell tobacco in your shop. This license, it would be what the county would set it at. And everyone who sells tobacco would have to pay either the $100 or $150 to sell tobacco, or I don't know what they'll make it as, but it will be, it won't be a ginormous fee because the Walgreens over there told me they made $13,000 a month selling tobacco products. So, I mean, it's not going to hurt the businesses or anything, but it will protect you guys from all these other little shops that are coming up. And they are competing. I mean, they sell everything in that place. So, and with no regulations, I don't know how many we're going to see starting up because they make a lot of money. Tobacco brings in a lot of money.
Okay, and that was another question I had, was the proposed fee. You said it's going to be in the $100 to $150 range?
Yeah, we're I think Alachua has it at 200. And I'm not sure, Mary, and I didn't check what they're charging. But they use that 200. They hired an outside company to come and do all their spot checks. So that's kind of why their fee was a little higher. But it would be up to the county, and you would feel free to, as a retailer, to have input on that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I do have a lot of heartburn when it comes to having a additional license, especially when you get into the hundreds of dollars. And the reason why is this for places like myself is redundant. We do get inspected, and we do have licenses. I get inspected numerous times a year by the FDA and the ATF. And
Maybe there could be a carve out for businesses that are doing it right.
Yeah, you know, it would be up to the county, and you should certainly have some input in that. And we welcome retailers to have input on it. Our main goal is just to protect our kids from these shops that don't have anything. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know, that's something that when we present to the county, I would really like you to be there, because you would have input. And they might decide to, like if you're already grandfathered in and licensed, you know, and being inspected, which we're not seeing anyone else being inspected. I don't know what's going on, but, you know, they keeping a good eye on you, it sounds like. So, yeah, I will, you know, certainly, I will personally let you know, so you would have input there.
We could add a sentence in here.
Yeah, we want to work it out for everyone.
I would like to be involved with that. Commissioner Bryant?
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at the age part of it. Now, does the county have the ability to put an age limit on this kind of thing as well?
They can do whatever they want with the license.
That's what I'm trying to see where,
Yes.
where the real,
Yes.
I guess, you know, control is here as far as limiting the ability to sell it to minors. Now, of course, they can define what a minor is, but, I mean, 11, 12, 13-year-olds.
Well, it shouldn't be anyone under 21.
It's 21 now.
Yes.
Wow.
The law was made 21. That's a federal
That's
law.
the compliance issue then.
Yeah. That's a federal law that Sheriff Staley is following the federal law of to 21. So.
Okay, as far as the concept of it, I do support it. I do have a lot of reservation about, you know, redundant licensing fees.
Sure.
The piece about Walgreens with, I do have high gross dollar amounts of tobacco dollar sales like they do, but the gross profit you make from tobacco is very, very low. We're only making about 2 to 3% off of those products. So by the time you back 2 to 3% out of the 13,000 and then your labor and everything else, you're
right
down to the point where it's hardly even worth messing with.
Yeah.
So licensing fees does become a very big deal for a retailer like myself. That $100, $200
yeah.
does make an impact to me.
Will come, you know, I mean, we're going to go present something to them, and it will be up to them to write their license. I'm not proposing them how to write it. That's not my job. My job is just making them aware of it, protecting our youth, and legally they can pass a local license. So.
Yeah, so like I was saying, you could just add a few words to this sentence right here that for those tobacco shops or purveyors of tobacco.
And certainly if you want to discuss
not
it.
currently following other guidelines.
And feel free to discuss it. You don't have to do it, you know, tonight, but you can, Penny could send it to me, whatever, you know. So no pressure.
Well, I think we're at a point where we do have a consensus. Is there any other comments on this? No. Okay. And I would like to open this up for public comment. So if y'all could just step aside real quick. Any members of the public wish to talk on this item? How you doing, Chief? Just your name and position, please.
Matt Downey, Chief of Police for the City of Flagler Beach. Just like you, Chair, I have the pleasure of working with Terry on multiple different projects, and Tobacco Free Flagler is one of them, Police Athletic League, and her passion for children speaks for itself. So the big one is the vapes. So just as Terry was speaking, I just Googled on my phone the top, flavors of vapes. And they're smart. They're gearing their marketing towards children. So if this doesn't sound delicious, the name of the vape is I Love Strawberry Donuts. Well, being in law enforcement, I do love strawberry donuts. But this e-juice combines the taste of warm, fried powdered donuts with sweet, thick strawberry jelly in the middle.
Wow.
Do yourself a favor after the meeting and just Google the term popcorn lung. That's what happens when you vape. It looks like your lungs have turned to popcorn. That's why the young man that Terry was talking about needed a lung transplant. It's very dangerous. They're making tons of money off of it. And when it comes down to the licenses, whatever the county's going to do, our closest state beverage and tobacco agent is up in Jacksonville. The money that does get used for licenses, whatever it is, whatever it's determined to be, just a recommendation for the future is use that money to support law enforcement to go down and crack down and do spot checks. That's what that money, in my opinion, should go to. Not to put a tax burden on any of the businesses. And if there is a redundancy, then you shouldn't have to pay. But the vape shops that are popping up across from high schools are dangerous. Just my 2 cents as a chief.
Beautiful, thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll bring this up for any other comments or a motion.
Do we need a motion, or is it just consensus enough?
If it's just consensus, then if it's just to send the letter, then all you need is consensus.
Great.
All right, commissioners, we have a consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item 9 is deleted. And the next item is item 10, discussion and possible action regarding contract for the city manager position. And Drew, this one is you.
It is me, and you have the contract in front of you. I've spoken to each of you individually, kind of gone through what's changed since the last draft. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those. A couple of housekeeping items that just in working with Mr. Whitson's attorney in section 1 term, 6 lines down, putting the word days after 60. You'll see it about 2/3 of the way through that line, 60 days. And then in section 22, 4 pages back from there, just putting and spelling out 90 and then parentheses around the numerals for 90. And those are the only cleanups to what you have in front of you.
Okay, and how I would like to do this, we will just go down the line, and then we'll go down a second time, just if there's any follow-up questions or comments based on what gets brought up. I'll start with Mayor Johnston. Mayor Johnston, do you have any thoughts, comments, or anything on this item?
The comments that I had already shared them with Drew regarding spouse health insurance, seeing if that was something that could be taken from employee pay. I'm trying to look through here to see how that was figured out. Oh,
It's, you're talking pre-tax, after-tax, is that what you're asking?
No, I know right now it was discussed in one of the I think it was the last meeting that Whitson was looking for health insurance for himself, which is what all of the employees have, and
Standard.
also for his spouse.
So in here, you have, the city would pay half of the premium for the spouse.
Okay, is that reflected in his salary? The difference for the half? That was just my concern.
No, the difference in the
Okay.
half is not reflected in the salary. The salary is the same as the last meeting. The health insurance for spouse coverage has gone from, he was asking for 100% last meeting, it's dropped to now 50%. The vision and dental has come out, and I think that was it on the insurance coverages. The life and disability, it would be whatever the other employees are getting. So the only difference between the contract and your staff would be the payment of 50% of the spousal premium.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bryan.
I'm good.
Commissioner Valhumer.
Just as long as we're talking about that half the premium, what is the cost of that?
For the year, I had Kathleen run the numbers. I think it was about 5,047, I think, for the 12-month period. That's what the city's cost would be.
Okay. Where do I sign? I'm good. Other than that, the only other thing I wanted to mention was the $10,000 on the moving expenses and temporary housing.
Stipend.
I'm fine with it. It started out at, what was it, 800 a month he wanted for temporary housing?
It was basically 10,000 plus temporary housing, and so what you have here, the revision has been to just get to that 10,000 number, and that he can value engineer it, however,
Once at
spread it as far as he
$800
can.
is $4,800, which is half the 10,000, so I don't have any issues with it. I'm ready to check off on it. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Mealy.
I don't have anything.
Commissioner Phillips.
No questions.
Okay, I had a couple comments, and if y'all could just entertain me on this. So Larry was making 122.6, and right now this contract is at 127. And I have some philosophical disagreements with the 127. I'm going to tell you why. The job posting, y'all remember this? Had the salary range of, the salary range is 104 to 124. I am not okay with going above what we posted, and this is Eric logic, so bear with me. So I do not want our first order of business with our city manager, who's controlling all of the city finances and everything that has to do with our purse, to have item number one coming in the door be over budget on his own position. We posted 124. We said in here that's what we pay. I get there's exceptions. I get that, you have skills, knowledge, and ability, and the belief is he fits that. But so did Larry. Larry was very skilled, had a very long background, and that's what Larry's making. Now, if you take Larry's evaluation that he would have had, he will be at the 124. But, I'm a big believer, and we said that this is the range that this job pays, and I believe that is something that we should stick with. I don't agree with the 127. I definitely would not vote yes on it, and it's just based on the philosophy and the principle of it. So there's that, and then by all means, we're going to comment more on that. So the 1/2 premium, and Liz, you can help me on this. My understanding is, if you can just kind of fact check me, is this a common practice in government for city managers, or is this an old practice that has fallen by the wayside?
Well, dependent coverage, it varies. There are cities and counties that do it. And there's all different, some partial, some do 100% dependent coverage. There's a number I can tell you, there's a few cities right in this area that do partial funding of dependent coverage. You have the city of
item number absolute one of the city manager coming in as being over budget on that particular one item. So I'll just get y'all's thoughts on that. Mayor Johnston?
Well, mine goes back to the health insurance 50% being paid of the spouse. I would have thought that would, to me, now he's making 127 plus the 5,000. I mean, it keeps ticking up. That's just my thought on that.
Commissioner Bryan?
I looked at it and I agree that, the exceeding what we initially had agreed to was outside of the realm of what we had agreed to do. But by the same token, when I was speaking to Drew, I got the impression that it was also sort of a trade-off of having to pay for other things as well. I mean, we are getting a top-notch. I mean, we selected this person out of a lot of other candidates. And I don't want to, and I know being over budget is over budget, but by the same token, when I'm looking at what we're getting and how soon we're going to get it, and the salaries that we're paying, and we did negotiate on a lot of things. We negotiated on a lot. So I was okay with it because I thought there was a trade-off with some other things that he could have insisted on, but we just raised the salary there a little bit more. So I'm okay with it. I understand the concept that you're talking about, and philosophically, it does sound a little over the top, but I would be willing to agree to it.
Commissioner Bellinger?
Well, I just think we're getting a premier city manager. I guess he won't be asking for a raise anytime soon. So
you never know.
That's the other way. That's the other thing about that too. It's coming in at the top.
just so he's aware he's at the tippy top. So, and I would hope he is aware of that. And I'm just anxious to get somebody in that chair that can solve our problems.
Commissioner Mealy?
Yeah, I just did a little quick math here. Larry made 122 something before we gave the last increase. He would have been making 124 something had he been here. And we're going into a new year again, which takes us to almost 127. So I can justify it that way. It's negotiations. We took things back. He took things back. And this is where we are. It is more than we said we were going to pay, but there are things he asked for, as was said by others, that are no longer in here. So I'm good with it.
Commissioner Phillips?
So I'm good with it as well. Just piggybacking off on what the others said about regarding the trade-off. So I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Chair, if I may, just on this point, just because I heard it enough times in the back and forth in the negotiation, and as I know if Mr. Whitson were sitting here, he would say this, and he would probably want you all to hear it, is that part of that number is driven by the residency requirement. If he didn't have to live in the city limits of City of Flagler Beach, those numbers that we've talked the most about in this setting, he would not have felt the need to push so hard. It is the difference in real estate prices inside the city limits versus in the county limits.
Any other comments from the board?
Why so few of our employees live here?
Mm-hmm. All right, and I'll open this up for public comment. Any members of the public wish to talk on this agenda item? No? All right.
What was actually budgeted? 124?
Well, the budget is a little bit different than the published range. And I don't know the hard number that was budgeted. Liz, you might be able to help us with that. But we have, the published range was 104 to 124.
I understand that.
Yeah.
The comment will be over budget, so.
Well,
Are we over budget?
Oh no, we will not be over budget.
I think it's good.
Any other members of the public wish to comment up? All right, we'll close public comment. And this is, I believe, just a consensus, Drew?
No, this is a formal vote. You're authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement.
Okay.
I'll make a motion very gladly that we sign this employment agreement with William Woodson to be our city manager.
I'll second. Third.
Fourth.
All right.
And ask the mayor to sign. Is that?
Give it to Debbie.
Debbie.
Which is weird.
It is weird.
I'm starting over again too. Commissioner Bryan,
With pleasure, yes.
Commissioner Bellhumor,
Yes.
Commissioner Mealy,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Chair Cooley.
Yes to the motion. The motion passes.
And Penny, did Janelle give you the signature version for the man?
Okay, and instead of comments, let's roll to item 12, ordinance 2021-05. Drew, could you read that?
Ordinance number 2021-05, an ordinance of the city of Flagler Beach, Florida, relating to bicycle and micromobility device share services, amending Chapter 19 of the Code of Ordinances to create Chapter 19, Article 5, bicycle and micromobility device share services, providing for definitions, regulations, and enforcement, providing for application to existing share services, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date. And what this is, if you remember last meeting or 2 meetings ago, I brought forward what Orlando had done, which started off with bicycles, expanded to scooters. The issue that had been raised here was scooters. I pared down a lot of the stuff that I didn't think really fit for Flagler Beach that was in theirs, but also combined this idea of bicycle, scooters, micromobility devices. That way you just had one ordinance that was kind of dealing with all of the similar related issues.
All right, and I'm sure
You
everybody.
did a good job of that, because I compared them. It was good.
All right, so let's go down the line. Commissioner Phillips, we're going to start with you, and if you can, take us through your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I just have 2 questions. Page 3 of 7, number 4, the application fee. Will this be an annual renewal, or will it just be a one-time application and fee?
It's application, then renewal. So you would have an application fee the first year, and then you just renew that application.
Every single year, you're just going to renew it? Okay.
My expectation would be that there would be both an application fee and a renewal fee. We would set those by resolution, so if, you implemented this and found that, we're really not having many enforcement problems.
Right.
So then you could change through that resolution what your fees are. Theoretically, you could go to, there's not a renewal fee, there's just a renewal, piece of paper that you submit.
Okay.
But at least the problem you're dealing with, or at least that was expressed, that caused this to come to an ordinance level, was really the piling up of the devices, and blocking sidewalks, being unsightly.
Right.
So you may want to have that continuing stream of renewal fees coming in, because that's how you will offset the cost of the program on the city, which is those who are having to deal with getting the bicycles or scooters where they're supposed to be.
Okay. And then my last question was number 3, kind of going backwards, the application requirements for a permit. I'm just aware of one company that is currently renting these vehicles, or what are they called? The scooters. Yeah, the scooters. Will we reach out to them as a city, or?
If this passes, my expectation would be that, yes, anybody in the city that we know that's already doing that, we would let them know that, 1, there's regulations, 2, you're going to have to get a license. I can't remember what the grace period was, but I did put a grace period in here.
Yep.
90 days grace period for existing to come into compliance with their licensing, or
I
their
think there's
permitting.
2, the Shell Station and the Topaz, I believe, too.
Yeah, it's also the Beachfront Motel.
And I believe Sally's Ice Cream, too.
I thought Jimmy Shang 10 was doing it.
Oh, Java Joint.
Are those locations where they're being rented from, or are they doing their own programs at each of those?
I know of 2, so I'm not.
There's
I mean,
scooters everywhere.
but I don't ride around town every day. Just talk to Rick, he should know.
My question was, are these
They're companies.
other companies or
No, they're all the same.
the same company doing it from different lots? Yeah, so they wouldn't have to register each of those lots. They would have the registration for their company, and then they would distribute their bicycles however they fit. But that's part of the regulations, as you saw, was them taking a proactive approach to make sure they don't have large piles of bicycles or scooters stacked up somewhere.
Okay, great, thank you. Those are my only questions.
Commissioner Mealy.
Okay, on page 2, very bottom, number 4, says they can't, parking a bike or other mobility device, a person may not park a bike on any private property without the permission of the owner. Placing a bicycle rack shall be deemed permission for the general public to park a bike within that rack. Okay, so XYZ company puts up a rack for his company, and I'm riding my bike. Does that mean I can park my bike in that rack? Because that's the way I'm reading it.
So I'm using a rented bicycle. I can't just put that onto your property. That's the first part. If you have put a bicycle rack on your property for people that are coming to your shop, then that is there an invitation for, if I'm riding my bicycle from my house to your shop, I can park my bicycle in your rack. What this is saying is, if I've rented a bicycle from one of these micro-mobility device companies, I can also put my bike in that rack. That the bicycle rack put up by the business owner for people who are using bicycles to get to their shop, it doesn't matter if you're a rented bicycle. It was more to make sure that we didn't capture something in that prohibition that we didn't intend to. We don't want the rented bicycle to be any less functional within the city and commerce than somebody who's riding their own bicycle.
So vice versa, if XYZ company puts, with Debbie's permission, puts a rack there, so then a private person couldn't. Okay,
No.
so does that say that somewhere?
Yes, because what you're referring to as a rack is a docking station.
Docking station.
We're not, but that provision where we're using rack in that provision, we're not talking about the docking station. If I'm a Lime bike and you're XYZ company, I can't park my Lime bike at your XYZ company docking station. It might not even fit. When we say bike rack, we're not talking about the bike rack. We're not talking about the docking station that you get the rented bicycle from. We're talking about a bicycle rack like at Publix where they're set up for people to ride their bikes.
All right.
So there's just a difference in terminology. I was looking for the term that we use in the definitions. But yeah, if it's the micromobility device company's rack of rentable bicycles, that would be a docking station. So putting a docking station on a private business does not mean that you can park whatever there.
All right, so docking station means a bicycle rack control. Okay, I see the definition. All right, on page 5. Just one general comment. Orlando had a section on companies educating the renters. Should we include in here that they need to do that?
I would think that at some point in the transaction process of renting one of these scooters, the people who are doing like an e-sign or something, there needs to be some type of, you were handed this that told you what to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
There's, whether it be electronic, that they clicked, I agree, or whether it be some type of paper, whatever the case is, and I would think that would be electronic, that we would need to require.
Drew, in the Orlando one, it was section 10.05.
Yeah, my suggestion, the reason why I pulled out some of the Orlando stuff, it has a very complicated system.
Oh, yeah, it was.
And so, I mean, that applied both to the user and the business. Ours is much simpler. So what I was thinking here was to just add one sentence along the lines that the chair was talking about, right there around line 217, which is subparagraph F, to require whatever application they're using on your phone for the rental, for it to have a notice on there. It already has notice that you have to comply with state law, but if there's any, like, really it's the where you leave the bicycle is the main thing, I think, for us.
Right.
And maybe just one, educating, notifying the public where they are and are not allowed to leave their bicycle. I hope that we wouldn't get much pushback on that, because that's to their benefit as well as ours.
I would think so. Okay.
So I made that note.
Thank you. We have company responsibilities. Do they have to have a physical address? It says we have to know their phone number and their name.
Mm-hmm. So we need a contact person, so if we have a problem, we know who to get in touch with. It's up to us. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that they would.
That would be on the
I wouldn't
business
require them
license.
to have a local physical address. Because if you did have somebody like Lime Bike come in, you're not going to have probably
Even
the Lime
if
Bike
it's
headquarters
somewhere
in the
else,
city.
just so we know where they are. Or shouldn't we? I'm asking.
I mean, I would think that'd be part of the license, right?
Well, they're going to have a physical address somewhere. I don't have a problem requiring it. They're going to have a physical address.
Docking stations will have physical addresses.
But I think Jane was talking about where the company is located. Where's their LBTR issue at, really, is what you're asking. And because of that, they're going to have a physical address somewhere. So if we want to have that, a record
I
of.
just think it'd be good to have. And on page 6, number 5, G5, line 238. The third line says such property will be released to the lawful owner after all impoundment and storage fees have been paid. We didn't mention impoundment and storage fees anywhere else, so do we need to say anything more about those?
I'll get with Chief on that. We may already have impoundment and storage fees. Storage fees is just going to be a straight pass-through. If we had to store it somewhere, what did it cost to store it? And then we'll take a look and see if we have any impoundment fees for bicycles that you know of. So that may be something else that we have to adopt or that we may add to our fee resolution.
Okay.
But that would not be, actually the impoundment would not be particular to this. If we wanted to adopt an impoundment fee, if we had any bicycle that needed to be impounded and stored by the police department, you would be getting, that fee charged to you. So this would not be special to micromobility devices. This would be broader, because we wouldn't, again, bicycle blocking the sidewalk is a bicycle blocking the sidewalk. So we don't want to punish the e-bicycle renters more so than we would do anybody else
No,
for a bicycle.
I agree.
Rules are rules are rules, how we treat that.
I agree. And I didn't take the time, so I'm going to ask you, do we have rules about riding on sidewalks?
I did look at that, and I can't remember what I found. I think we prohibit it. I think we prohibit bicycles on the sidewalk. Do we prohibit bicycles on the sidewalk, Chief?
So we're going to allow scooters on sidewalks?
I don't know about in the downtown area where the sidewalk narrows,
Yeah.
where it's wider out in the residential.
Scooters, our code does not deal with. So scooters are also a different animal than bicycles.
Well, maybe that's something with, another thing that we can change in our ordinances, that motorized apparatus not be allowed on sidewalks. That would cover all
Maybe,
bases.
that's one, Chief and I
We
will
don't-
talk
we don't-
about
we
that.
don't
I'm
allow
not sure.
golf carts,
I want
so-
to look a little bit and see what other jurisdictions are doing with scooters on sidewalks, because scooters are a lot more like being a pedestrian when you're on a scooter. There's just, I worry about pushing them. I worry about pushing them to the street and creating conflict points with vehicles, because you're less visible, you're less mobile, and so I just want to see what other jurisdictions are doing on that one. But I do have a little bit of reservation just from a safety angle, and maybe Chief doesn't. And if I'm speaking out of turn and you disagree, but I worry a little bit about pushing scooters to sides of roads.
Well, are we talking about two different kinds of scooters?
I know. The electric assist.
the thing is, they can come up behind somebody walking, and they won't hear them coming. And they may step to the side to turn around and look at something. I just think it's dangerous to have motorized anything on the sidewalk.
Okay.
So maybe that's something we can.
Well, then I'll make the note to make that change, and if Chief and I talk about it, and either one of us says, well, I found this, the commission's going to be interested in this to go the other way, then we'll present that to you, and if we don't find anything like that, then I'll go ahead and put it in. I mean, I'll put it in there either way, and then if you decide you want to take it out, then you can tell me to take it back out.
Okay, thank you. And having read what's going on in Daytona now, or in Volusia County, do we have to address none of this on the beach?
What's going on in Volusia County?
There's argument. Is that what it says? Okay.
They have electric bicycles on the beach?
Yep.
How do they even manage to? Oh,
Yeah, it's
that's
harder.
right, because of
Yeah.
the vehicles.
Yeah, wherever they're allowing driving cars, they're allowing.
I'll look at it, because I had another question about the beach and what uses are permitted, so I'll look at it, and if I have a concern, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
That's everything? All right, Commissioner Bellhumor.
So this would be retroactive to apply to the people that are already here, correct?
Within 90 days, they'd have to get their permit, correct?
So we'd be able to implement this rather quickly.
And the regulations would apply to them as soon as they kicked in. It's just they would have 90 days to get their permit.
Understood. The only other thing I got is page 2, parking a bicycle or other mobility device. Item 3, line 86. It says, a person may not park a bicycle or mobility device on any public property except in areas designated for bicycle or other mobility device parking. We have a lot of bicycle riders in this city that ride to the parks or other areas, mainly recreational areas that are public space that have no bicycle racks. So I don't want any language in here that's going to hinder our own residents from riding their bicycle to the park and letting their grandkids swing on the swing.
If I made the distinction, if I use where you guys were going with the scooters earlier, if I use the electric assist versus pedal power only, would that make any difference? Because I think it's the electric assist ones that become the biggest problems. So, and that would also make a fair distinction, because again, I got a little bit of reservation saying this bicycle gets treated than that bicycle. We have two bicycles that are saying one was rented, one was owned, and one gets treated differently. We could have a bit of a selective enforcement problem there. But if I made the distinction based on human powered only versus electric powered, now I've got, I think, a distinction I can argue a pretty good justice.
How about owned as opposed to rented? I mean, if somebody rides their bicycle to the park, isn't going to leave their bicycle there, they're going to take it home with them. Whereas somebody renting one may not. But I just don't, I don't think that gives the people that would ride their bicycle to a park that has no designated parking for bicycles, to keep it up close to where they are and make sure it doesn't get stolen or whatever.
Well, and also this is one that I had thought about when I was drafting, because I was doing a lot more of pulling out than putting new stuff in, and thought about pulling this out because another thing in Flagler Beach, we don't have a lot of areas, I think, right now that are designated for bicycles, and that might be more work on our end to even for the rented to work well, because what if you want to rent it and stop at the park and have lunch? And this could create a problem for that. So since we also have the restacking, or the companies are required to balance them, to pull them off of public areas. They're not like sidewalks, they're blocking sidewalks. And then that 2 hour period, they're supposed to be out there. And if we say, hey, we've got a problem, we've got a big stack of bikes, 2 hours, they're supposed to address that problem. Do we need that sentence in there? That you have to park a bicycle in an area designated for bicycle parking?
I'd be okay with taking it out. because making the distinction between self-powered and electric, we have people who own electric bicycles.
Yes, a lot of them.
Yeah, so that wouldn't help.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
That's
That's the end of my list.
Commissioner Bryan.
Everything's been covered, I'm good.
Mayor Johnston.
I'm good too.
And I had just a few things, simple things. This is just more for clarity. Drew, around line 212, 213. We have it talking about placing in public property, can't do that and stuff. Do we need to specify right-of-way areas at all?
Right-of-way is public property.
Takes care of that. Next thing is around line, that whole section 223 to 228, where it's talking about removing bicycles. I didn't see anything in here about being placed on private property. Am I missing that? Is that covered somewhere else, or?
They're not allowed to park on private property without being owned. I don't know a reason why so the practical problem with private property is we don't know if you're parked on public property and we call you up and say, or you got a stack of these on public property, and the city calls you and says, we're giving you notice that you need to come and rebalance these, or else we are going to impound the bicycles. Well, then we know that notice has been given. If as private property owner you do the same thing, well, then we don't know if you gave the proper notice. We don't know what's been done by the private property owner to affect their own rights. So absolutely, if somebody parks there, they don't have permission to be on private property, there's a stack of them, they don't have permission to be on the private property, the private property owner can do whatever is in their right to do, and it may be to pull the bikes in, to call the number on the bicycle, say, get your bikes off. If you don't put your bikes off, I'm pulling them inside, or I'm moving them out of the way, or I'm moving them out to the right of way, and then it does become our problem, and we give the notice. But I don't know practically, legally, I don't have a problem putting language like that in here. Practically, I don't know how we would do it, because now it's not us who's giving the notice, and then us who's also impounding the bicycles.
I'll just give you for instance. A bunch of people rent them, park them at my business's parking lot, and just leave them. That's it. They don't come back. Then what? Do I impound them?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, as private property owners, you would treat it, yes.
Park their car in your front yard.
That's right.
You call a tow truck and have them towed. They don't have permission to be parked in your yard.
I like that.
It depends what year it is.
Right.
But really, the intent of what's there now is to protect the city and the city's property, not so much to protect the private property owners, because private property owners already have a lot more rights than we do as the city, since we are public property. You have a right to have your bicycle on public property unless we say otherwise.
Okay. Commissioners, any other comments? No. All right, I will open this up to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? Again, state your name and address.
What's our liability as the city for these costs, or if there's something, are we liable for anything?
Not really. I mean, it would be a hard case because you got sovereign immunity that's protecting you from that.
I can see you talking about calling up a number and having them removed. Is there a liaison in this area? They have one?
Well, that's part of this, is they would have to have a person, a contact person for us to reach out to.
2 hours? What?
2 hours.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you. Any other members of the public? If you can, just state your name and address.
Multiple riders on the same scooter, seeing them go down the street, not stop at stop signs.
Not always stop at stop signs.
Problem perhaps, but just so we have an awareness of some of those safety issues, and how do we input comment to the board after tonight? This is a kind of like a preliminary discussion of how do we make comments to commissioners? Is it just public comment? Is there
Well, you can always public comment at any time moving forward if it's not already on the agenda. And, because ordinances, they evolve over time.
Email or
Oh, yeah.
written letters.
Each of their email addresses is on the website, and you can also email the clerk, and the clerk will distribute to the elected officials too,
Or
particularly if it's an agenda item. That's often very effective.
Or telephone?
Okay, is, I think that addressing the operator age, maybe that's already in the agreement. I don't know how that works, but like I say, I've seen multiple people on there, and they're 12, 15, whatever, and they do ride the sidewalks, they are very fast. So those are a couple of things that hope we address in the order as much as we can.
Drew, how, is there anything about age?
There's nothing about age right now, unless there's something in state law, and I don't think there is with the electric assist, so it's the same as, it's not a motor vehicle, so you don't get into age requirements. Could we put one in? Yes. Is it, how enforceable is it? One, how much time do you want your police officers spending, encountering people? Two, if it's anything less than 16, these days maybe 17, 18, you are talking about a class of people that may not have age identifying or age showing identification on them, and it makes age restriction very difficult. Or age restriction very difficult, because chief encounters somebody, how old are you? I'm 16, you got an ID? No, I don't. What do you do?
But what is enforceable is the method in which they are operated.
Correct.
That's very enforceable. And that might be, where we can get that fixed. Because, I don't know any practical way you could put an age on a scooter, because scooters start at infancy. Okay, we got any other members of the public have any comments?
I'm fairly certain it said somewhere in here about only one person on it. I can't find it.
All right, let me, nobody from the public?
I'm just responding to.
Okay. I'm going to close public comment and comments from the board. Jane?
No, I wanted to respond to him. I thought it said in here, but I can't find it.
I would believe that would have been in their rental agreement within the company, but I don't know anything about this company.
I have a quick question. In the paperwork, I saw that it was 20 miles per hour. Are those governed? Do they have governors on them? The scooters?
I have no idea how the technology works, so I don't know if it's just a matter of how fast the motor spins and its design, or if it actually uses a governor to somehow restrict how fast it could otherwise go but for the governor.
Okay.
It's kind of like a golf cart. It can only go as fast as the batteries.
Oh, okay. I was almost run over this week. That's why.
Well, and I would actually, if we do have 20 miles an hour in there, that would be something they would need to comply to, because some of those units are very fast.
And that would govern their stock, so their stock would be limited to that speed. It's not how fast the operator can use it, it's that you're not going to rent something that goes faster than that. And I went ahead and added the note to add to it's line 188, if I don't find it elsewhere, because I don't remember it being there, Jane, that one person per device. So I did make that note, if you wanted to put that in there.
Okay, well, this brings up an interesting question for the board. Is 20 miles an hour the right number?
20 miles an hour for this is probably the number you want to use, because that is what the industry is using. That's where the distinction is being made between pedestrian device and motorized device. And so I think if you were to say 15, you're not going to have them in town, because they're being designed for that 20 mile an hour break point.
Okay. Any other comments from?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2021-05 as amended.
Second.
And Penny, if you could roll call.
Yes.
Commissioner Bellheimer?
Yes.
Commissioner Mealy?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Chair Cooley?
Yes, the motion. All right, motion passes. All right, we are at commission comments. Mayor Johnston, you are first.
All right. Well, first, welcome first day. Thank you, everyone that helped out. I'd like to also thank Katie, she's not here, Supervisor of Elections, for just a job well done in the city last week, and even coming in on her birthday when we did have a little small technical difficulty. And we've got lots of work to do. Some current business going on, Bike Week. There's a lot of people in town. Spring break's coming up. It's good to see the businesses recuperating some of that revenue that's coming in. And then a couple things to discuss. While I was out campaigning, there was a lot of redundancy among the citizens, and it was getting information out. So I was I thought that I could be an information catalyst between the city and the residents. And I can go through a lot of this. We can get through the nuts and bolts when we go through a strategic planning meeting. But for the right now, I wanted to start a Susie Johnston, Mayor of Flagler Beach page that would keep any business questions off of my personal Facebook page. And I could just direct everyone there. I could work with Matt, Rick, and the rest of the team to make sure we have information out going to the citizens. And an additional couple items that you can expect from me between now and your next meeting is I plan on meeting with each of the different city mayors, including Beverly Beach, as well as each of the county commissioners, and just really getting a handle and introducing myself. I have relationships with a lot of them, but letting them know some of the initiatives and concerns and pain points of the residents here in Flagler Beach. Other than that, going to continue with the beach cleanups. It's going to be business as usual. And I think that since it is my first time on the dais, this is where I put in my request for a taser, if I'm not mistaken. And
Traditions are important. That's it?
That's it.
All right, Commissioner Bryan?
Yeah, first of all, the first item I have on my list, and I spoke to Rick about it earlier, and he'll probably cover this in his comments, but it had to do with the parking lots. As you know, that I keep talking about the parking lots. It's something we need to work on, but I'll just defer to Rick when he has his staff reports, and he can give us an update as to where we are on parking lots. One of the things I asked the staff to provide you with were items that had to do with cleanup. And here again, one of my pet peeves is cigarette butts. And it seems to me there was a lot of discussion today about cigarette butts, cigarettes, vaping, and this kind of thing here. So yesterday I was in St. Augustine Beach speaking to one of our counterparts, commissioner up there, because I heard they had receptacles up there for disposing of cigarette butts. The organization that is actually responsible for the receptacles, as getting them to us, is Beaches Go Green. And it's a nonprofit organization. It started in Jacksonville. Jacksonville has some of the cleanest beaches now because they started addressing cigarette butts, and then it just moved on to other kinds of litter. These particular receptacles that you have on your desk here, and I took these photographs and I forwarded them to Penny, and Penny, thanks for taking, giving these to the commissioners, because I wanted everyone to look at them. They're not very large, but they're large enough to take the cigarette butts in there. Our staff, when they're doing their regular pickup of trash, would actually take the lock off and put the cigarette butts in a container of some type. Beaches Green, or Beaches Go Green, actually will come to the city here and pick up all of the cigarette butts, and they have an organization that's actually recycling cigarette butts, believe it or not.
I've heard that.
And they're making various products out of cigarette butts. So this is something, if I can get the agreement from the board, I'll pursue it a little bit more, and I'll talk to the executive director of Beaches Go Green. They actually have some scholarship programs available for youth in the community because they started getting youth involved with the whole program as well. So it's a great project. It looks like it'd be something very beneficial here. And if we can just get people to understand that you have cigarette butt receptacles along the boardwalk, at the walkovers,
I want to make sure I got it right. At the walkovers and places like this, it may give people more of an incentive to dispose of them properly. I think each one of us has been out on the beach cleaning up. We see these big piles of cigarette butts where individuals have pulled up to the curb with their car, they open the door up, and they just obviously just dump them right out. So maybe this is a good step towards helping to spread the word that we're going to try to have the cleanest beaches on the coast here, starting with Flagler Beach. Flagler Beach, the cleanest beach on the coast, or something of that nature. The other thing...
While you're on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you look at these receptacles, what it says at the bottom, Keep America Beautiful. Philip Morris.
Yes.
Call them up. Tell them to send us some.
That's it. So that's what I'm
so
talking.
I don't know that we need to go through grants and stuff if that's.
Well, we don't have to go through grants. I'm going to meet with the executive director.
Okay.
And talk to her to see how you can get them, because we don't have to purchase these.
Right.
They have.
I'm sure they're gifted.
They're pretty much
Morris.
gifted. So that's one of the things. The other kinds of things that they're working on that I made some copies of, and I didn't provide all of you with that, but it's also a whole program on recycling and helping to clean the beaches. And again, it's all directed towards beaches going green and cleaning up litter and helping people to be more proud of the beaches that they're in. So much for that.
Question, sir.
Yeah, go on.
Has Rob Smith seen these pictures of the cans and whatnot?
He has not. I just picked this up yesterday afternoon, and I forwarded it to Penny, I think, late yesterday afternoon.
I still see him tomorrow. I can give them to him.
I'm sure everyone's aware of Senate Bill 90. I think it's Senate Bill. And that has to do with the elections and the ballot boxes and things of this nature that they're proposing in Tallahassee. I spoke to our county supervisor of elections office, and first I wanted to thank them for a fantastic job that they've been doing as far as putting on great elections. No fraud, no cases of it. It goes smoothly. They work hard along with our staff here. So I told her, I said, you know, people usually complain about things, but I had to come down here to at least thank you and compliment on a good job that you're doing. And I talked to her, and she also said that she's been talking to some of her counterparts in St. Johns County, Lake County, and I think the supervisor of elections director was actually on TV this morning on Lake County talking about the impact that it's going to have on our local elections office. It's going to have a tremendous impact on our office here because it's going to create unfunded types of things that we're going to have to do that we're not budgeted for. It would have a significant impact on our county that they haven't budgeted for. So anything that we can do, maybe calling up Senator Hudson, I think he's on the Rules Committee in these particular offices, and let them know that we oppose some of the things they're moving forward with. They're talking about having one single ballot box in order to guard against fraud, but there's no cases to show that there was actually any fraud. And our own folks right here, she actually has a deputy standing there guarding the ballot, the boxes, the drop boxes. So some of the things that they're talking about doing is excessive.
They're just picking up on what the feds are doing.
Exactly. It's just all political, but I oppose it. I got my platform up here to say I oppose it, and I'm against it. So that's what I'm using it for.
So before you go on, I'm not quite done with the other letter that I said I was going to write.
Oh, sure.
So would you like me to write about two things?
Sure, Commissioner, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's they're looking at it now. There's some things that have already kind of moved on according to Representative Hudson. So
I think it's in its second committee.
Yes.
And so it still has to finish the second committee and go to the third.
Before it goes to the next one. But the politicians are pushing hard for stuff they really don't need. I mean, they should be focusing on something like the bacon, but that's another story. I'll get off of that. One other item here, I attended the Gardens CDD meeting along with Miss Sally that's sitting in the back here. She just happened to be there along with some other folks from the Preserve Flagler group. As I mentioned in the last meeting, the Gardens, or as it's called, the Gardens Hammock Beach Project, they actually are, we attended there, we went over the meetings, we introduced ourselves, they knew who we were, of course, and it was there to observe and to see what's going on with the CDD. Something that we were not aware of, and I don't think you folks are aware of either, but the project is going to be turned over to the CDD
in May that will actually be managing the construction and development of the gardens.
You can form a CDD before people are moving in?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have their members there, and there's a link that I can send to you. I may have provided to Penny, that you can look at all of the tabs that they have, along with the proposals. The part that's pretty significant to us is 30.4. It has to do with water distribution, sanitary sewer collection, reuse water systems, and reuse treatment plants. And that's directly talks about Flagler Beach, and that's why I provided you with copies with that. So if you want to go back and look at the entire packet that they have, if you don't have it, I can provide you with that link, and it gives you all of the exhibits that they have, which are maps in the whole project. But the significant part is to make sure that we keep our eye on the ball and make sure that we understand what they're doing. Attend the meetings whenever they're having one. They're public CDD meetings, and I think Sally and her group were calling me and letting me know that there was going to be a CDD meeting so I could attend. So when I attended, I told them who I was, and I said I was just basically there to observe, since Flagler Beach has a vested interest in the whole project.
And I spoke with Edgar today,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like we're going to be in need of a reuse plant sooner than later, judging from, again, where the legislature's going without considering costs to
I know that we have a new city manager coming on in May, but we may want to start planning a little bit more, going through Drew and our acting city manager to at least start some conversations and kind of let them know that we'd like to be involved with what's going on, and see if we can get something going. We're going to have to spend a lot of money. And with that,
And this is only for the first
yes,
phase?
it's going to be for that particular phase. They have several phases in here, but the CDD will probably manage all of the phases. So right now, we're just talking about the east side. The east side, right.
I'm confused about how you form a CDD when there are no residents.
It can be done. I mean, it's not unusual to have the CDD responsible for the development and construction, based on the information I got.
Kind of like a condominium or a homeowner association?
Well, it's got more governmental powers.
No, I know, I understand, but it's the formation, it's kind of the same.
But who's on it if there are no homeowners?
The developer.
The developer.
He owns it. He is it.
He
Just
is
like the developer of an
this-
HOA
Right.
is the HOA until turnover.
Yeah, they'll turn it
CDD
over.
is very similar.
And I just forwarded that to all of them, except for you. I've got to get your email set up. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to kind of bring everyone up to speed on some of the
Very
things that's going on.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bellhumor.
Well, as long as we're on that subject at this time, we were looking for an idea of what the cost of reuse system would be. Were we able to get any numbers on that?
Not yet.
Okay, well, all right. It's just like Ken said, time's of the essence here. Every minute we waste may come back and bite us somewhere down the road. So if we could, I think we had a consensus at the last meeting that we would, the staff would put together or find out what we had from, Eric brought up about the presentation that the people doing the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. They had spelled out all the phases, and Eric seemed to remember a number in that presentation somewhere as to what that.
They have the plan. It's phased. We only got into and approved the first phase, but they did talk about, this is what they gave the master plan and they outlined units for the other phases. It would just be a matter of calling them up and going, expected rough costs of the next phase.
And a timeline of how long it would take to get that started and completed. So we have an idea of what we're working with. I did go over and talk to Johnny Lynn over at the treatment plant, and he says right now they have such a high saltwater intrusion into the system they couldn't even develop such a thing. So that's one problem that has to be taken care of long before we can even get started. But in the meantime, maybe we can get some numbers and keep the conversation going. I listened to the webinar that Mr. Whitson suggested we listen to. It was interesting. It'd be nice to know. It would be nice to have some competition in town as far as internet access. If AT&T would run some lines on our streets as opposed to just up and down A1A.
Starlink. Starlink is a very good internet provider competition. You can actually sign up for now.
Okay, I'll talk to you about that then. I do that. Anybody else going to Green Cove Springs next Thursday? Nobody's going?
I won't be in town.
What is that?
I'm going by myself. To the. Oh. Peer hours. I've been talking to a couple of the people that frequent the pier, and everybody seems to think that it's worthwhile to go ahead and expand our pier hours to what they used to be and close at midnight. Rick, were you able to get any feedback from Buzz on that?
I spoke to Buzz this afternoon, and he said he's had quite a few people questioning when we were going to take the hours back to midnight.
Tomorrow? Or sometime really soon. I mean, daylight savings time is Sunday, so that gives them another hour of daylight out there. And a lot of people, by the time they get home and get cleaned up, doesn't give them a whole lot of time to go fishing before it closes. So people I've talked to seem to think that the tick up in traffic would easily pay for the 3 hours of somebody to maintain the store.
If Buzz can get people to work it, to work the hours.
Yes.
Okay.
What's everybody else think?
Sure.
I like the concept. We really got to be intelligent about the costs and staffing of the pier. Execute it right, yes, it'll bring some income in. Execute it incorrectly, or staying later without having the traffic, we're just going to lose money faster. So I really think we need to get some data around crowds and times of day, from those folks there, if they don't already have it, because piers lose money, and this potentially could be a move that we could lose money faster, but we don't know. I like the concept.
I think we do know. I think they're pretty certain that it would not be a loss of money for money. They know that their attendance would be higher with expanded hours.
But it's just based on their hunch, right, or something. We just need to know. We got to be able to make a good decision.
I mean, how else would you know?
Track traffic. Hopefully, they've been doing that for a long time. Commissioner Bryan.
I mean, if we're going to do it, we don't necessarily have to do it on a permanent basis. We just say we're going to do it for 30 days or something like this to see what the revenue is going to be like. And then, and then review it again at that time.
Yeah, or do it for the season.
And just try it, see what happens.
It's
you know, it's got a lot of, okay.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you, Rick. I think if there's a way to do it, we should, 100%.
And that would have been my suggestion, as Commissioner Bryan. Try it for 30, 60 days, see where we're at. If we don't have the turnout, then we go back to 9 o'clock.
What else you got, Rick?
I think it's going to be real difficult for them not to be able to cover the cost of a couple extra hours.
If
running the
somebody
store.
has a pass, they're not going to be paying more. They already have the pass.
Correct.
So if we're paying Buzz or somebody to work another 3 hours, that's a cost that we may not make up with people with peer passes.
Well, but it could encourage people who get home from work at 6 o'clock at night, by the time they have dinner and want to come down to the Pier and Fish, this could encourage them to come down and buy more passes.
Which would be great if they didn't have a peer pass to start with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if they do
Well-
if they have a, correct me if I'm wrong, if they do have a peer pass, don't they still have to give something every day, you know?
No, but we
They
still,
have to
we
still
have
give a
bait
buck to
and
get on the
tackle.
pier every day?
We have bait and tackle and soft drinks and,
Well, let's do it for maybe 60 days and see.
Run the numbers and
Is it a
make
winner
Eric
or,
happy.
yeah.
Increase that peer pass.
That's
Too low.
All right, that's all I got.
All right, Commissioner Mealy.
All right. Nat, I'd like to thank you and your department for acting so quickly with the speeding complaints, you know, putting up the signs, and thank you. I'd like to know if I can give Susie a homework assignment.
Uh-oh.
That was quick.
And-
First day.
Well, everybody has to
You got a
agree.
term paper to write.
I'm concerned with Boston whaler infecting the air when they open up. Styrene. And Rick has tried to get a hold of Matt Morton, not getting any response. I remember Linda saying it did come up at a mayor's meeting and that Melissa was all over it, but I need more. I don't have confidence. Not in Melissa, I don't have confidence that that's actually happening.
I can handle that.
Good, okay. Is everybody good with
Yeah, I mean,
Susie?
one of the things that they're kind of just based on some pollution that I was dealing with in St. Johns County. And I'm not sure of the terminology that they use for the discharge of the styrene, but I think they're bag houses or something to that effect that they have to actually process.
Okay, thank you. The second thing is Stephen Scott will be doing a presentation at the next commission meeting regarding Pell Parker Park and what we're proposing. Penny, I spoke to Janelle yesterday. I believe Mr. Scott is going to send you a PowerPoint presentation and then some drone footage that we need to share with the commission. So I think he'll be doing that. I'm meeting with him on Saturday just to confirm.
And that's, you want that on March 25th?
Yes. Oh, and we'd like to have it, he's requesting that it be one of the first agenda items.
Doesn't everybody?
The manager says how the agenda is placed. I draft him a draft, and he approves it or declines it, so.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody wants to be first.
I just thought I'd throw it out there.
I usually put them in order of who applies first, so tell them get busy.
Okay. So do you need anything other than he's definitely going to be on the agenda?
He knows what he needs to send me. He's done this before.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
That's everything? Okay, I had a couple things. Rick, about a month ago, we had a consensus and we asked for the library to get open, or a plan to get the library open. So the question is, and I don't know, is the library open? And what is the plan to get it open?
I spoke with Chief Pace, and he is still under the impression that that is the most likely place to spread the virus. People going in, touching books, tables. It would be impossible for us to go behind everyone cleaning what they've handled. And he still feels that the library should not be open.
But we had a consensus to open it.
Pardon me?
We had a consensus from the board to open it. We didn't ask if thought it was okay.
Then we'll open it Monday morning.
Yeah, well, we asked for a plan and a way to do it safely. We are the only library that is not open.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we can figure out from the libraries that are open how to do it safely. That's what I think.
I asked the librarian last week if they had been over there because of that, and she got real defensive. And she's like, well, you sit safely in your office. And I said, well, I don't. I said, I attend commission meetings.
Commissioner Bryan.
I was at the health department and I spoke to Mr. Snyder and he did not think it was safe because of the age of the individuals that we have here, the majority of the users. We can go against his particular wishes, but it might be prudent to at least go through his office and given the conditions in which we have and the clients that we have and maybe get another reading. But that was a couple of weeks ago. I was at the health department, I just happened to talk to him about that.
And we did say that we wanted to have the blessing of the health department before we open things. We've said that all along.
So did all the other libraries open without the blessing?
Other libraries might have more staff. I mean, she had some person, assistant visit with her here all the time, and she depends on volunteers. They may or may not come in.
Would we like to come up with a different consensus? Does anybody feel differently?
I would like to at least get a new reading on it, considering the fact that most folks in our age group and those that are using the library, we're young, are maybe getting their second shot or have already received it or getting it pretty soon. And with those particular conditions, considerations, it might be safer now. I just feel a little bit better if we could just at least get the professional help to say, Chief Pace has been doing a great job, but I think that we could at least get an updated version of where we are right now and whether or not it's safe, considering the things I just talked about.
The last time you talked to Snyder was a couple of weeks ago?
It's a couple of weeks ago when I was getting my second shot.
Yeah. All right.
Actually, that was about a month ago, I'm sorry.
I would think that the majority of citizens have been fully vaccinated. since we are the majority of the city, we're old decrepit folks like us. So I would think it would be safe. Now, to compare us with the other libraries is not fair because we don't have the staff. I know that when my friends that use the Palm Coast main branch, they bring books back, they're all sprayed down and left to sit somewhere for a couple of days before they're put on the shelves. We don't have the staff to do that. And on top of checking out books for people and like that, so.
I don't believe we have the areas to do that either.
We could use that room in the meeting room. The meeting room in the back?
Yes.
You could use that to spray down the books and let them sit.
So what would be the consensus of the board? I feel differently. I think at some point, and I think we're at that point, we need to start turning the corner. If the board feels differently, that's okay. We can come up with a different consensus, but we definitely need to give direction, and then, then we need to move forward with that direction.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sir.
How about if, just a suggestion, we get our city manager here to talk to Mr. Snyder and give him a description of what the scenario is, the square footage we have, what our clientele is, how many staff we have, and get some updated directions to where you think we should go on this. And also considering the fact that a lot of folks have already gotten their shots, and people are starting to come out and visit each other. Like I said, that was about a month ago. Things may have changed in his particular opinion at this point. At least we'll have a professional opinion from a health official that we can feel comfortable knowing that we're doing the right thing.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, next meeting? Okay, we'll have an update on that.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody feels good about that? Okay. Penny, want to thank you and the staff for all the hard work during the elections and everything. In addition to Katie's staff, there's a lot of the Penny running around, and everybody, Penny, Janelle, everybody, and that's a lot of work. And wanted to talk about, this is more about things opening up style discussions. So we have numerous events that are keystone events that we have sent elsewhere. So we have the 11th May Day Surf Competition, which for the first time will be held in Ponce. The 13th Flagler Turtle Fest, which will not be in Flagler, will be in Marineland. The 12th Flagler Surf Series, that was turned down. They're relocating up north. They don't have a venue yet. These are smaller outdoor style events. The events are opening up all around us. I wanted to see what y'all's thoughts are on small events, small outdoor events especially. And, Commissioner Bryan, I know you've mentioned the car show circuits are opening back up. Mm-hmm. And there's just events everywhere but here. And, maybe Palm Coast. I don't know what Palm Coast is doing, but I know that I go to a lot of events that are outdoors. They're not big ones. So there's two things. So you have small events, small outdoor events, and then we need to start talking about our large event, which is 4th of July. Now there's two different thought processes, and I'll just give you mine, and then y'all can give me your thoughts on it. But so right now, all over Florida, and I'm not going to say that there isn't exceptions because we're one of them. We're not doing anything right now as far as permitting goes, but all over Florida, there are small events happening. That's current. So the whole state, all over, there's small events. There is not very large events. For instance, there is no, our fireworks display pulls in 50, 60,000 people. There is no events happening right now that involve 50, 60,000 people. There are no concerts happening. Daytona is heavily reduced. Even the Super Bowl was heavily reduced. They used cardboard figures. That was interesting in the stands. But so I like the idea of going along with basically what the state is doing. The state is doing small events. The state is not doing very large events. That's the rationale I put on it. You know, if we were to make a discussion over 4th of July, I would be inclined to say that is a very large scale event that would not coincide with doing music festivals and all these other things that bring mass amounts of people in. Bringing 50, 60,000 people into town, there's no way you're going to social distance. And to make it worse, there's no way you can social distance in the businesses that have to try to accommodate them that day. Now, small events, I'm of the mindset again, that Eric's 2 cents is we need to start turning the corner. I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on this. Just kind of get on the table because we're going to have to make some decisions on small events and on 4th of July.
I think things are changing, and I think as every day goes by, they're going to change even quicker. But I think we need to wait until we know that things are heading the other direction. There's a lot of speculation about when we'll be safe and that sort of stuff, but we do have, as we spoke, a lot of vulnerable people in the city, and just because they're older doesn't necessarily mean they've had their shots yet. Of course, they don't come to surfing events. I get that as well, but then comes the point of being consistent about what you're doing. That's my thoughts. I think we need to just wait until we hear from the...
It's safe. I really don't think it's a safe thing to do.
Okay.
We have a governor who has been a virus denier since the get-go. And so, of course, the state, go do whatever you want. I am not in favor of that at all.
You know, it's interesting. The governor is all about home rule when it comes to that.
Yeah. Little inconsistent.
Commissioner Phillips.
Just really quickly, Penny, have we had a lot of event requests recently?
It's been the ones he's mentioned and a couple others.
Right.
And we've been consistent telling them the same thing.
Okay.
Feel free. I mean, some, have submitted for later on, like TNT just submitted for their December event, which is usually New Year's December. And we told them, we cannot fully say yes or no. We can give you a tentative yes, but if the cases are still high, it would be declined. We would try to do that in enough time to provide you notice before you start invoicing her vendors, so she doesn't have to go through the refund process and cost her more money. But additionally, we do have Chapter 14 in your code, and that addresses the safety officers. And you have adopted by resolution naming a safety officer, and you've adopted a safety plan. And I don't have that in front of me, nor am I versed in it to say if it addresses emergencies of this type.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's just hurricanes, storms, floods, things like that. Who thinks of a pandemic?
Right.
It may be in there, and I don't know. Is Matt still here? Matt, are you up on that, or is that more Bobby's field?
When it comes to the events, Bobby and I work hand in hand on those, as we do just about everything that relates to public safety. So, yeah, it's going to be tenuous moving forward. It's been a long, arduous year, and I agree with you, Eric, that we should look at it. But the reality is that we're a small city staff, and if we had a major event where all your lifeguards got sick, your firefighters, your law enforcement, this city, as far as services, would collapse. I don't know, and I've been vocal about it before, but getting COVID vaccines for law enforcement is next to impossible. We had to take our officers to Volusia County to get vaccinated.
Is there a reason why that you know?
Because the governor, it was the governor.
Jeez.
I'll just throw it out there. It's the governor. Because we didn't meet the criteria that we didn't contact patients, although we beat firefighters to most of the calls out on the road. We, in essence, became second responders. And so yesterday, 8 of us went down and got our first vaccines yesterday in Volusia County. So as we move forward, we've got a great working relationship with Bob Snyder. And Ricky, if you want me to take that off your hands, I'll meet with Bobby tomorrow. We'll give Mr. Snyder a call. Because from the get-go, from the onset of this, Bob Snyder's been by our side, helping with advice that he gets, not just from the Department of Health, but from the CDC and Dr. Bickle, who's the medical advisor for the Department of Health locally here in Flagler. And when it comes to those type of things, you follow the advice of the people that are in the know. And as we move forward, like I said, I'll get with Bobby in the morning. We'll give Bob a call, and then we'll let the board know what the recommendation is. And I don't remember who said it, but you can't compare our library to other libraries. There's Melissa and one part-time person. So the only good news is they're open to the extent of if you want books, if you tell them what books you want, they'll put them outside and you can drop the books off. So they're not totally shut down. You can go on a computer and say, I want a Harlan Coben or a Dan Brown book, and they'll get them for you. And then when they come back, they clean them. So they are technically, I wouldn't say, arms wide open, but they're distributing and taking books. So hopefully we'll have some news for you. As a matter of fact, I can email the board what Mr. Snyder says. We'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, so we have, so I believe what I'm hearing as far as the consensus is we're good. As far as library goes, we'll have an update next week from Chief or Rick, either one. And as far as large or small events, we'll wait on some more guidance. The last question would be, for planning purposes, there will come a point that we should probably set for ourselves on the calendar that we will need to have a decision on what exactly we're going to do for the 4th of July. And there's different aspects of it. You have the fireworks aspect, you have the parade aspect, you have the vendors' activities aspect. So there's different pieces of it. But I know that at some point we will have to let everybody who's involved know. Is there any thoughts on when we're thinking that time would be?
Now, because it's March already.
But that's kind of why I'm bringing it up. It is March.
I think back to what I said before. I don't think it's a smart thing to, as much as I hate to have 2 no 4th of Julys in a row. I think it would be foolish to even think about it. I heard somebody say something about doing it out of the airport. To me, that wouldn't be a Flagler Beach event. So that would be something for people to do, but it wouldn't be a Flagler Beach event.
It would be somewhere we told, for instance, tourism is in charge of financing fireworks for both Palm Coast and Flagler Beach. So it would, I think the mindset of that, I wasn't the one, but I know that's been discussed many times in the past, is we would just have tourism say do a large county celebration at the airport, as opposed to Flagler does their thing, Palm Coast does their thing. We all try to figure it out. And meanwhile, we have first responders going somewhere, different locations all over on different days.
Yeah, while I hate to not do another 4th of July, I think Jim is right. Doesn't make sense again this year.
We got 2, Commissioner Bryan?
Yeah, I think it's a little too early. I was talking to my buddy commissioner in St. Augustine Beach yesterday, and I
I think they're actually going to have fireworks. We could very easily do it, but the rest people that don't like fireworks, they could just go off the road. But,
Just come down Lambert then.
just come down Lambert.
Yeah, really. You know, it's funny you say it, because I watched Lambert from my top deck.
That's what I did too. But I think it's a little too early. In regard to the events, I was mentioning the car shows. I mean, I went to 2 weeks ago. I went to the first car show in a year, and you guys know how much I have a passion for cars. But I kept my mask on the entire time, and most of the folks here, not most of them, a lot of the folks had masks on, but a lot did not. And that's the problem. So that's the only reason I say that. We probably need to hold off a little bit. Maybe we can revisit this around June.
We can't plan around June.
No, I mean, as far as 4th of July, I think that's out. But I mean, for events for the fall, like the Flagler Corvette Club, I got a call the other day from Steve, who I know very well with the Flagler Corvette Club. And, I called Bobby, I called the city manager, and Bobby said, I think it's a little too early, but, if they want to go ahead and submit their application and just keep it on file, then they can do it with Penny and just keep it on record. So they can plan, but there's nothing guaranteed. So it's very fluid at this point.
Okay. Commissioner Valiant?
I think it takes too much planning to put it off any longer. I don't think we're at a point we can make that call. So we're probably just going to have to scratch 4th of July for another year. And hope we can have a parade or there's something going on for the holidays.
Okay. Mayor Johnston?
I did some reading this week, and I see that the Flagler County vaccination rate's at 25%. I know that, well, I'm a planner. I like to at least have a goal moving forward. It'd be nice if the city could come to a consensus that said, along with the health officials saying that it's safe, or once the county hit a certain vaccination percentage, to be able to start to plan and move forward. I don't know if that would be 50, 60, 75%, but I think it would be nice for residents to be able to aim for a goal and something that they could start to see more light at the end of the tunnel. But right now, it's just, we don't know, and we don't know gets to be a little old as an answer. So, just a goal.
We'll see what kind of feedback the chief gets. He's good at pulling information out of people and very thorough with his description of it, so.
Okay, so
see what he comes back with.
is everybody okay with making a decision on 4th of July next meeting with an update from Chief?
That works.
Yes.
Consensus reached. Okay, Chief, you're on deck for giving us the 4th of July update for the next meeting. Are you okay with that?
Yes, sir, absolutely, Chair. And back when we had the wildfires years and years ago, they actually held the fireworks off for the 4th of July, and they had them on Labor Day. So that is a viable option that I'll provide to you. It's September 6th, which is a Monday. It's nearly 2 months after. So that may be an option where we could have fireworks on that day if our numbers are up and Mr. Snyder says that that's something that we could do. So, but I will talk to Bob extensively, and I think a real good gauge is going to be what's going to happen, not this week, but give it 14 days after Bike Week. Let's see what happens.
Oh, geez.
Let's see what happens. And then I think that'll get right about to the time of the next meeting. We'll be able to have a definitive answer where, hey, these things are spiking all out of control with these big events. And that'll pretty much tell us what we need to do.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we also need to check with the TDC to see if we can have funding as well. That's another issue.
I can answer that one too. The TDC does have money set aside for fireworks.
Okay.
How does he know that?
I don't know. I'm on the board.
Penny, what'd you say?
I was just saying that we pay the invoices to the vendor and then submit those receipts to the.
Okay. All right, so Chief has an update for that, then we'll make a decision next meeting under staff. And Chief, if you could just ask about parade and fireworks separately. You know, perhaps if we can't do one, we can do another. We might not be able to do either. But if you could just ask about them individually. Okay. That is all I had. And Drew, you're up.
You guys already chipped away at mine, so I'll keep my mouth shut tonight.
City Manager.
The pier hardening has been completed. We did find out in the process that we do have some of the cross members. I believe there's 4 or 5 of the cross members that are missing. So we will have to address that somewhere down the road. But the nuts, bolts, everything is back in, everything is tightened up. They completed the job Monday. The parking lots, we got prices back on the parking lots. Our 2 low bids, thank you Lee Richards, came in at $30,000 under what we had budgeted. There was quite a difference. We had 2 that were $30,000 less. We had 3 that were anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 over what we had anticipated. So we're checking on the 2 low bidders right now to make sure that they have good standing.
As I say, there's the responsible.
Yes, yes, because there is quite a difference in price. But we're doing some background on that right now.
Good. I reviewed all that with Lee the last couple of days, and I told him if he could have, once he did his due diligence on that, we could put it on the March 25th agenda for award, and I could draft all that. Notice to proceed, notice to award. After we do have that information.
Great. That's awesome.
Yes, and I'm sure you've seen the building department sheet. February, we had 10 new single-family home applications come in.
Amazing.
It's going crazy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Question, sir. A while back, we talked about when the city engineer presented on the next well, the financials were all messed up and it had to get re-presented. We didn't have a time when that was coming back on agenda. Have you made any progress on digging up all that?
I'll have that at the next meeting.
Okay, so I'll put that on notes for next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. Penny?
I just have item 14A for Kathleen here. So the Salty Church, they have an existing agreement with the county for use of the senior center. They also have an agreement with us, which we speak about the whole Wickline Center, but it's basically for the schoolhouse portion. Now, since the county has moved out, Kathleen was like, well, they're going to pay the utility bills then because we are not using that yet. And she spoke with Drew about it, and Drew advised, because we don't have a true lease with them, that the utility bills should remain in our name. However, we can amend our agreement to have them pay maybe some, help me out here.
Well, my suggestion would be, because their use is so small in the course of a week, that we just figure out a fee rather than try to track utilities, because I think tracking utilities when the use is so small it's going to take more staff time than you're going to get money back. So if anything, I would say some small fee, and I've talked to their attorney, and I think they would be agreeable to some, they don't want something for nothing. They're not asking for something for nothing. It's just, we were talking about a very small use in that building. It's hard to really, well, you got to pay all the utilities for, the 4 hours a week maybe that you use the building.
But currently, they're the only ones using it. I mean, to my knowledge, we're not even in there doing any work or assessing what we want to do with it to present to them to get their approval. We haven't, it's just them in it now. So, I mean, if it were to stay that way for a few months, we could get an average and then bill them for that. But what we also need to address is their the county had adopted use rules for the building, and we don't have that, so, maybe, we need Drew or someone could take a look at the ones the county had.
Yeah,
and see
just
if
hand
they're
them to me
okay,
when I walk out and I'll look at
and
them.
see if we need to amend it.
I thought we had a rule set for that.
I think it's for the, well, it talks about the complex, but that agreement speaks really just to the
this.
schoolhouse.
I'll take that when I go and I'll put the two together. I'll pull up
Okay.
the other ones that we've used for other.
I might have it, I have it all here. It's in your packet over there, item 14A, all of it's there. I put it all in there. I'll give you this, though, here.
Right. It's shuffled in somewhere here. Yeah.
And then just, the only other thing I had was, just that the election did go well. I think we had 31% turnout, which for a non-presidential piggyback is pretty good. It's not as good as we used to do years ago, but for the recent years, it is an improvement. And welcome, Susie.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Eric. And we'll proceed and get your email set up. And I think Janelle, if she didn't give it to you already, has got a new commissioner book, welcome book. So I've been having her work on it, so it should be ready. That's it.
All right, let's go back to Salty Church. Commissioner Belhinger, you had a comment.
Penny, that building has its own electric meter and water meter and all that?
I
It's not
believe so.
connected with the other-
It has its
buildings.
own because the county used to pay, yes.
Okay. So if they're in there, okay, so I think that's a good idea, just come up with a.
I mean, if we have no
$1
plans to
figure.
be in there for the next couple of months, we can get an
Hey,
average
did
for
they-
them.
Is the county out of there yet? I keep seeing county trucks over there. Have you seen them over there, Rick?
To the best of my knowledge, they are completely out of there now.
Completely out, but they are, now IT is supposed to be coming back to run the data line through the old part and do some changes in the senior part too. That's all that equipment that I've got back there. Remember in the budget, I asked you to keep.
Facilities over there just the last couple of days, so, okay, it'd be nice to know that there were, and the Salty Church said they were gonna buy furniture, and if they're still having church there, I guess they already did.
I haven't been in there at all.
Okay, well, they've been great keepers of the place, so, I'm sure we'll work something out.
Okay, so let's have a clear consensus. Let's say that we will wait and gather the utility data till July, meeting in July, and then we'll make a decision then. Is everybody good with that? Sounds good.
What kind of?
Because we were coming, in order to come up with a fee.
Yeah, I understand they're the only one using it, but the electric runs all the time, whether they're in there or not, right? I mean.
Well, the climate control,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're turning the unit, I'm sure they're not leaving it very cold while they're not in there.
Yeah.
So there's, utility, water and electric at this point, water, sewer and electric.
So they're using it 4 hours a week?
Well, if they wanted to put it in their name, then does that mean they were only gonna pay part of it?
No, they were gonna pay the whole, well, if they put it in their name, they would be paying all of it, and I don't think that's fair.
I don't know if they wanted to or if Catherine.
They didn't
Kathleen
really
was
want to. They
approaching
didn't
them.
want to show up on Sunday and not have power.
Right.
Well, I think they're safe there. If you were to ask me personally, they've been such good stewards, I would not charge them any fee. I would, anything that place needs maintenance-wise, investment-wise, anything like that, they're Johnny on the spot with. But if we did want to evaluate utilities, I just want to make sure we have a consensus of how long are we going to wait before we make a decision.
Well, and just an FYI, they not only use the senior center, but they also use the Wickline building.
It's going to be
So
tough
they-
to come up with a number.
Well, their average was
Yeah.
$850 a month in the past.
It goes up.
But that was during the senior meals.
Would you like me to just reach out to their attorney and see what they think would be a fair payment and bring that back to you the next meeting? I'm sure I can get that number, and if they say, we don't think we use enough for anything to be particularly fair, or they, in all likelihood, will say they'll probably give us that fair number, and then we can go from there. That might be the easier way of addressing it.
Yeah, I think Travis is a very fair person to deal with. I don't think he's going to say, I don't want to pay anything.
Also, I'm not sure about internet connection. I don't know if they're streaming or Zooming their services like a lot of churches were doing. And I'm sure the county cut off their portion of the spectrum bill for that building. So there may or may not be Wi-Fi internet in that building. I'm not sure.
Commissioner Bellinger?
Excuse me.
County paid their final bills?
Kathleen's not here to, I didn't ask for that specific question.
All right, so it sounds like consensus is we will go to them, ask them what they think is a fair price for electric, water, and internet. Everybody's good with that?
That sounds good.
Okay, next meeting, Drew, you got that? We'll cover that under staff comments. Penny, that was everything? I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.
Rick?